I've got some important news for you today, and it's good news, too. There is a move of God that is happening that is sweeping across, especially Europe right now. While Donald Trump may not be the name that's popular, he's emboldened and put courage into elections so that we now are seeing Poland, as well as Hungary, the UK and Germany and France. They're all moving into position, copying the America First winning message regarding immigration, even Christian values, and the importance of having a solid national identity. There's something good happening, and Poland itself just had an election, and the president says he wants a return of Christian values into public life. That's pretty powerful. You know, you got to be careful what you consume. If you're always getting negative news, you don't know where God's actually moving. And it's just like with water. On my staff, I've got my team has been telling me about how water treatment plants work. And the fact that they take human wasted stuff, put them in this shock tank that, you know, puts chemicals in and kills all the bad stuff. But nevertheless, what comes out of that process is what people are drinking. It's in the ice cubes you're getting in your restaurant, on the plane, et cetera. And you know what you've got? You still can't filter out the vaccines. You still can't filter out the chemicals, the birth control chemicals. I mean, there's fetal matter that is dumped into the toilets that is in that waste that is then recycled. It's just maddening. So what I'm recommending people do is they actually only drink water where they know the source is pure. Go to lancewallnau.com/water. I myself, in my office here and in my home, install a special system where it totally filters out the chemicals that I don't want coming in. I don't trust the plants. I don't trust the local plants at all. I want to filter it out, and then I want to put the right minerals back in. I don't want lifeless water. I want water that has nutritional minerals in it. Go to lancewallnau.com/water. See what I'm talking about, and you'll agree with me once you look at the technology. It's a major game changer for your health. Now let's get into today's story. Folks, the spiritual battle that is going over the nations, I'm going to give you the update right now. This is the State of the Union for the world. This is the Christian update. Because what you got to see is that God is working to restrain Iran from a nuclear weapon so it cannot drop it on Tel Aviv and on the United States. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. They've walked away from negotiations right now, which is like, it makes you wonder, makes you think, because Zelensky went and wiped out 40% of the nuclear bombers in Russia with drones. And that was a step too far without American authorization, with Lindsey Graham smiling, clapping his hands. So it looks like we're behind it. Somebody needs a real Lindsey Graham off the world stage. Mm-hmm. Send him back to Carolina. And then you in Carolina, send him home. Yeah. The next election. Anyway, shalom. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. The Bible says pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Why? Because it's a statement that there needs to be a peace that is over God's people. And so here's the good news. South Korea, as I spoke about in an earlier broadcast, is right now in the throes of being taken over by the AOCs and the Harrises and the Bernie Sanders, the same political virus we have in the United States. And they have the same election fraud problems right now. And they've got the media and the press and the campuses all cannibalizing the sixth largest economy in the world, the strongest Christian nation in Asia. And it's a spiritual warfare hotspot. But South Korea, once they wake up, it'll be interesting to see what they do. You know, I was once in Singapore to speak at a conference. And at the conference, they wanted me to speak about what is God doing in the Asia-Pacific Rim. And they wanted me to talk about revival. They were all plugged into American revival stuff. And I went over there a day early. And on a day early, I had a little time for tourism. And I went into a trip to see the location of our meeting was going to be at a very high point. It actually was once where the guns were set by Churchill, so that Japan could never attack Singapore. And, you know, they lost Singapore. It was a tragedy. 70,000 prisoners of India, because England had influence in India, in Singapore and British soldiers. Churchill did not want to give up that strategic hub, that strategic port, that strategic leg that was so strong for Britain. But he was told, our guns are so strong that Japan, as they approach the ocean, can never land on our beach. So I'm there a day early for my conference. I'm looking at my notes and what I want to say. And the Lord tells me a very uncomfortable word. He says, tell the Christians, they're facing the wrong direction. See, they were facing the United States and revival fever. Revival is always great, but revival has its limitations. If you don't translate revival into policy, into presence, into persuasion, into legislation, into litigation, into public opinion, into operating as lawyers and teachers and journalists and politicians, then Christian influence, salt and light, recedes into just the street evangelism and the church, and it can be crushed by the takeover of your government. Talk to Hong Kong and see how the church is doing there. All the mega churches aren't there now. So I was really distressed because I thought, Lord, that's a terrible word to give. I know what they want to hear. They want to hear about revival and how God's going to just change the world with an outpouring, and woo, we're all going to be in the glory. And the Lord said, as I was there, said, study what happened to Singapore. And so I said, well, what happened to Singapore? The guns were facing. Japan ended up taking it. How did it happen? Well, Japan saw the guns. So they mapped out a way to come in through inland, upstream, and come back through the nation from the north. And therefore, they took over Singapore by going around the guns and coming from the opposite direction. And I asked the guide, I said, and what was the lesson? Well, the lesson was we were facing the wrong direction. Boom! That came down like we were facing the wrong direction. So I wrote that down, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a tough message to give. But it was a blood moon. They deliberately scheduled me to speak, being true Pentecostals, at the blood moon. Because the blood moon was a great prophetic sign at that time of Jesus doing something and revival and God and the rapture and all these books that were sold on the blood moon. So I get up to speak, and I sit there, and they, everybody's got headsets on because I'm speaking English. I got translators all over the audience. It's an international gathering in this prestigious location, and I'm sweating bullets because my message is you're facing the wrong direction. I'm thinking, maybe I'll kind of like work it in, and they say, stop, you cannot speak. Right now, it's the blood moon. And so they're all very delighted. I had to put my Bible down, and I go marching with everybody up steps, up to a parking lot, and there we are, all of us looking for the blood moon. Everyone's got their iPads and their phones, and they're looking to take pictures of the blood moon. We're all wandering around the parking lot, and there's nothing there. There's this cloud cover. I thought, I wonder how anticlimactic that when you have a blood moon, you can't see it because of clouds. So we're there wandering around for 5 minutes, and a guy comes up and says, okay, the conference is starting again. And I go down, I get my headset on, I get my microphone ready, I get my notes in front of me. And the waiter comes up and pours me water and looks at me and says, did you see it? I said, no, I didn't see anything. It can't, the cloud cover. He goes, no. He shows me a picture of the blood moon. I go, wait, where were you standing? He said, well, where were you? I said, I was out back here. He goes, oh, you were facing the wrong direction. I kid you not. They never invited me back. Here was my message. Folks, while you're looking to the west, you should be paying attention to the east. You think your future is American-style revivalists and people, falling down in the glory and manifestations of God and infinite church growth, changing the world, just by the influence of Christians in their church having revival. I said, you should be paying attention to China. You should be paying attention to your religious liberties. You better be advocating for freedom of speech, religious freedom. You better get a hold of your courts. You better get influence with your government. You better become vigorously mobilized in your economic clout. A bunch of rich people are here. You better put the leverage to work because it's the 7 mountains, baby. You better be watching business and media and government, and be careful that they don't get into education, because if they get into those 4 strategic centers with ideology that is both progressive and pro-socialist communist, it will make you weak and your guns will face the wrong direction and they'll take you over from the opposite side. It's your backyard you should be looking at, not the United States. Well, I'm sitting here to tell you that story still resonates with me. And I haven't been invited back. But I was right. That's what God was doing in the Asia-Pacific Rim, trying to wake up people. Still waking up the church, which is right now waking up in South Korea and going, what the heck just happened?
Now, you did say in this segment you're going to talk about the positive things. So,
oh, yeah, well, you
not
know,
that story's not. I just want to make sure.
Hey, you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. I want to get out of the news business. I just want to get into the good news business. The good news. Oh, it's all good news. You know, people don't read good news. If I did good news, people go, they want to go find some traumatizing, salacious, scandalous thing going on. Human nature. All right, good news. Are you ready for this? Europe has gone through the cycle of awakening. They've gone through they're in their fourth turning now. And like the United States, amazingly enough, it's the eastern provinces that came out of communist Russia, Soviet Union, that are Christian to the hilt. Poland just had an election. A 42-year-old outsider, right-winger, Karol Nowacki, just got elected, and his slogan was put Poland first. It's like Donald Trump tapped into something that's become like this. I'm telling you, there's a MAGA movement in Europe. They don't know what to do with Trump. He's so unpopular all the time, you can't mention, but they're all copying him. All the guys getting elected and winning are going, hey, we got to get rid of that immigration. We have to get rid of this woke stuff. It's got to stop. It's killing us. And we need to be putting our own interests first. It's nationalism, healthy nationalism. But catch this. Staunchly, the guy's pro-life, and he's against gay marriage. Ooh, you'll never say that in the United States again. No doubt the press will come out with authoritarian right-wing extremists are elected in Poland like Viktor Orban. Only Viktor Orban and the new president of Poland are actually creating safe, flourishing, pro-family economies because they resisted the virus. They're now facing the right direction. They know where their threat is. So Poland has importantly been congratulated by the United States. The president said, man, I know that guy. He's hot. We can do business with Poland. You're seeing the same thing happening in Hungary. You're seeing the same thing happen in Slovakia. And I want to report to you, conservatives have made historic gains across most of the continent, promising to crack down on illegal immigration that's coming from the Middle East, North Africa. And in Austria, the country's right-wing Freedom Party just won control of parliament. The first time hardline Conservative Party has done so since World War II. Then in Germany, keep it going, conservatives made historic gains with the right-wing AfD party, surging, and then last week, Portugal. I had talked to a guy who wanted to run for president of Portugal. He said, I want you to give me political consulting. You can't do everything, but I think he's involved with this. Portugal's got a right-wing Chega party that scored a number of victories to become the country's leading opposition party. And now even some left-wing politicians in Europe are adopting a more conservative language. They're copying the MAGA movement. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who's really out there, he actually turned everyone's head this month saying, we've heard your message on immigration. We're going to be cutting it down with very strict new visas for skilled labor only. And we're going to penalize those companies that hire foreign labor. And we're going to deal with this thing. Even the Prime Minister of England is saying, I see which way the wind is blowing. That's good news, folks. That's good news. Well, believe it or not, that's all the time we have today. And if you like these bite-sized nuggets of what's happening now, please like, share, and subscribe, and you'll be able to be notified every time we're on the air. See you again tomorrow.
Clean, safe water. It's the foundation of a healthy home, but hidden contaminants could be putting your family at risk. That's why there's Sentry H2O, the smarter way to protect what matters most. It filters out what doesn't belong and restores what your body needs. Pure, mineral-rich water that tastes as fresh as it is clean. Because your family deserves more than just clean. They deserve water that supports their health. Go to lancewallnau.com/water and use code LANCE to save 10% on your water wellness system. That's lancewallnau.com/water, code LANCE.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends.